Hey everybody, it's Peter Kleinhens from Wild Wonder, and today I want to give a little bit of, I guess, commentary on some really exciting conservation news coming from an island way over in Indonesia. I actually have my island conservation shirt on for the occasion. So the exciting news here is the fact that there's a really cool bird called a Maleo that is seeing a sort of population resurgence in some areas. And you might be thinking, what the heck is a Maleo and why should I care about it? Well, frankly, Malios are probably never going to affect your life personally, but I think that they're super cool birds. I've always wanted to see one. They're kind of these goofy looking birds, these big eyes. They kind of have for lack of a better term, a football helmet on the back of their head, this bulbous bony structure. And they look sort of like a cross between a tropical parrot in terms of color and a turkey. And there's a really cool thing that they do that they're famous for. And that is that this bird, unlike a lot of birds that lays an egg in a nest, guards the nest, helps the chicks learn to fly, this bird literally digs a hole in the sand like a turtle, buries one egg that's the size of a grapefruit, and leaves. And that's it. What's interesting, though, is you might be thinking, well, how would they incubate that egg? They lay their eggs, rather, in sand in areas that are influenced by geothermal activity. And the warm air, the steam basically rising out of the ground, warms their egg until it incubates. And then the little chick runs off. It is fully formed. And when it hatches, it's good to go. It can fly. It can do all the things. So it's pretty amazing. But what's sad about this bird is, I'm going to scroll down here so you guys can see this, is that they nest in these areas communally, meaning that multiple birds nest in the same place. And as you can probably figure out from where this is going, here are the birds digging their nest, by the way. When these birds do that, they become really vulnerable to people taking the eggs. You know, you have an egg the size of a grapefruit. People want that. And so villagers in the island where they live called Sulawesi have been taking the eggs. And if you only lay one egg and it's taken, it doesn't take long for the population to crash and go down. And so that's the bad news. The good news, though, look how beautiful they are, by the way. The good news, though, is that conservationists are trying something new with the species. So previously, a lot of eggs from protected areas were being taken to hatcheries, but they weren't finding that to really boost the population. You know, you'd have these babies, release them in the wild, and the population wasn't really growing. People think that one, the poaching was still continuing, so you didn't really solve the problem. And two, how do the birds know to dig the egg, or to dig up the sand and lay an egg? You know, they don't have that culture. And so the thinking shifted, and conservationists and ornithologists in the area began to say, why don't we just let the birds do their thing and just protect them? And so what's cool is that they enlisted the help of villagers. Here's some villagers looking at you can see all the birds in the background nesting in the communal area. And so the villagers began to be involved. And some conservation organizations began paying the villagers and paying some guards to kind of keep watch over these communal nesting areas, these two ones in particular. And that happened. And that happened at the same time that birders were visiting these places, spending money to see these awesome birds. And the money from birders, coupled with, you know, the incentive to protect the birds from just being paid to protect them, resulted in not much poaching. And so in these two particular populations, you have a really connected community. Look at these cool Maleo tattoos these young women have. But in these two populations, one quadrupled over the time span this was enacted, and the other tripled, which is huge. I mean, that just hasn't happened with this species ever. And so conservationists are really excited. Look, they even have masks. You could have a Maleo mask if you go to Sulawesi, which is pretty cool. So the bottom line, excuse me, is that if you just think about what is impacting a species and you try to solve that problem and not do a whole bunch of other things, if you just try to kind of figure out what is the root cause of the decline and engage the community that actually interacts with the species around conserving it, you can oftentimes, if not solve the problem, help to solve the problem, at least move the needle forward in terms of conservation. And this is just such a cool species. It's really, really encouraging to me that in a place that has been devastated by palm oil caused deforestation, poaching, a lot of issues with unsustainable fishing in their oceans, frankly, part of Indonesia that's had a lot of environmental problems, that there's, a sign of hope. And so that has me really excited. I'm super pumped about this news, and I hope you are too. And so that's it. I just wanted to share that awesome conservation news with you. We have a lot of bad conservation news these days, and so I always try to find those bright spots and share them with you all. So if you ever have any conservation news you'd like us to feature or to talk about, feel free to share it in the comments and we'll talk about it. We'll dig into it a little bit. I'd love to kind of connect with you all and hear more about the good things that are happening in your neck of the woods. I certainly am not familiar with the stories that are happening all over. So share them, comment your thoughts. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this bird, about this story. And make sure to check us out on both Facebook and on YouTube, Wild Wander. Like and subscribe our videos if you would. Check them out, and we can't wait to share more good conservation news with you soon. Thanks.